Want to take your abstract paintings to the next level? I've got 4 effective techniques for you and 1 that failed, so you can avoid making the same mistake. Hi there, I'm Janine. I'm an artist and I share my creative journey on this channel. Using different techniques can really have an impact and make your abstract painting so much more interesting. Let me show you a few that I love and one I thought would work but clearly didn't. I really enjoy working with a gel plate, so what I'm going to try today is this sheet of acetate. Just a standard piece of glossy acetate that you can buy in, I guess, a craft store, places like that, stationery shop. And one thing I really love about the jelly plate is the effects you get with a roller. So I'm going to try if I can get similar effects with this. The reason why I'm not using a jelly plate today is because I don't have one that size. Mine's about half this size. Let's start with adding some of this yellow. I say yellow, it's beige. Yellow tinted beige. I'm going to put some straight on here. And then maybe I'll also add a little bit of this, actually, a bit of this dark colour. I've pre-mixed these. Might be a bit much paint on here. I think this is probably too much. Let's take some of this off. I think some of this has dried already now. Now with a monoprint like this, ideally you want to leave it on for quite some time before you take it back off. I don't have the patience for that, and I don't actually mind what exactly it looks like. I use it more. I use this technique more as a tool to get some accidental marks, some uncontrolled paint marks. So just take this off again. Well, that did barely anything. Is it? Oh yeah. Oh, it's still wet to that paint. Maybe I do need to leave it for a bit longer. But there is a chance that it will stick to the acetate properly. I've let this dry for a couple of minutes. And the same. That did not really work. Interesting. What if I apply paint not with the roller, but just a bit thicker, like that? I do this with scrap paper sometimes. Just put paint onto scrap paper and then squash it onto the painting. I did leave some blobs of paint, but it's not quite what I was after. Let's try and roll it. I want to add some more white into that. to make it lighter. And then we've still got some paint on here. Squish that onto this painting. And again, I just made some paint blobs. Let's try and be a bit more experimental with the roller this time. Add some of that paint down here as well. And I'll also add a bit of white here. I do like this, it's made kind of a gradient from the white to the beige. Just put a little bit down here. And I'll also add a bit of this colour again, so it can blend a bit better. Now I'm just kind of using the edge of the roller. Let's try and get that onto here, that last bit of paint. Well, that was an experiment, that failed. I reckon if I painted on the acetate, actually, let's try that. If I paint on the acetate quite thickly, maybe with this and that scrubby brush. Just dry on here quite quickly. I thought it would work better than when I do this with scrap paper, but I don't think it is any better. Use this one here. Yeah, you can see that. Actually, I quite like these marks. Should we try that again? Maybe I'll add some white this time. And there's still a little bit of the red here. Put that on here. Don't want to think too much about it. Maybe I can move it sideways a little bit, like this. To get slightly different marks. And then I'll just try and put the last of this paint on this painting. Actually, I have another idea. If I put down a layer of paint. And then put that on top this way around. Where is it again? Oh, down here. And then I use a skewer or some tool like that and try and go over to create some lines. A bit like transfer paper. See if that did anything. Not really. Maybe a little bit, but not very much. Let's try rolling some of this. You can very much see the paper texture though. This was a cold pressed paper, which has more texture than if it was a hot pressed one. So that's some really diluted paint. So I'm just using what I've still got on my brush and some water. There is a chance this won't bind very well if it's diluted that much, but since this isn't going to be sold as a finished painting, it's just going to be sold as a print, it doesn't really matter how long this is gonna last. And now I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing, I'm just doing this quite intuitively. Just covering up larger areas with this transparent paint. That's quite fun actually. Let's do this to try and try that on another one. It's the one we started with. Let's use that same colour actually. Just going to get a touch of that. Don't want very much on my brush. And then dilute that with water.
If you like this video, consider subscribing.
Let's try and add a lighter colour here. Maybe that blue, I like that blue. This is a light blue that I've pre-mixed. No idea what's in it. And again, I'm just going to use a little bit. And then some water. I've been trying to preserve this area, but it's now looking very disconnected. So I'm just going to go over it a little bit. What shall we do here? Maybe I'll add some yellow to this. Not a super bright one. I had pre-mixed this one, which is a bit more orangey and a little bit muted. I add a little bit of the red here again. That's so wet? Yeah. Just blend that out. What do we want to use here? What if we make this slightly green? This is a very muted, quite dark green. Let's go over this side. Let's do something quite neutral here. And then I'll try and scratch into that a little bit. Still got some yellow on here. Is that dried? No, it was just a little bit here. Then I think I want to add a few smaller marks. I don't use a palette knife very often, but I do find it makes quite interesting marks when I do use it. Let's use that green again. Just play with that. Let's try the roller again. I quite like where it was the surface was very wet, and then I went into with the thicker paint, and now the rollers merging it into the wet area. I do really like that. I'm not so keen on with the roller is how you can see the paper texture. Let's do that with the roller again. To do a light blue here. So add some water. So I've got something on my brush. And I'll add little bits of the light blue. This has gotten quite boring. Let's add some this here. And then maybe I'll soften some of these edges with some water. I'll just add a little bit of dark colour. Well, while I've got it out. I also always really like using this catalyst wedge. Catalyst wedge? No. What is it called? Catalyst something. Blade? Mini blade. It's like a silicone palette knife. It's very satisfying to spread paint with that. And you can either apply less pressure and you have thicker paint, or same as with the metal palette knife, or you apply more pressure and then you kind of scrape the paint away and you get more of a transparent layer. This area is really holding me back because I'm trying to protect it, so I think I need to get rid of it in one way or another. That's some more of the dark up here, also with this silicone palette knife. And then I want to add a little bit of light down here again. That beige, but a little bit lighter, and I'll use a softer brush this time. Make this a little bit lighter on my palette. The darker version, less white in it. Maybe also here. I'll have the beige with a little bit less white in it, so the contrast to the shape next to it is not as stark. Let's do some more light colour here. This white is a bit too white, I think. So I'm going over those white bits. And then down here I want to even that out a little bit more. Should I use the green? Yeah, let's try the green. Still got a bit of the dark red on my palette knife. Just trying to make this more solid. Also darker, but mainly more solid. Add a bit more of the green here, but more like a glaze. I'll make these light bits up here darker value, so they're not as obvious, even though it's not the same colour as the background. Might mix some of this green with the beige. Just so I can make this a bit more solid as well. I'll keep this pink bit for now. Maybe make this bit down here a bit darker. But also mix it with the beige. I really don't like the green up here, so I'm going to use the dark red instead. I hope you learned something new or were reminded of a technique that you've forgotten about. Have you tried using acetate for monoprinting, and was it successful? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more techniques for abstract painting, click the link to the video in the description box below. Thanks and bye bye.